What questions about death have you been wanting to ask that you haven't asked? Um, so as you guys come in, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kema Ward. I am a death and grief doula living in Costa Rica. I'm also a writer, a teacher, and an integrative wellness advocate, if you will. I work with people all over the world, especially for my integrative wellness and death work as well, grief work as well. So I just work with people everywhere. Welcome, Unplugged Soul. So the way that I have organized things, I have three brands and one thread through all of them. So Kema, Cultivating with Kema is the umbrella. And everything you hear me talk about is underneath that umbrella. So it's either Carpe Mortem, which is my death doula practice. The Unseen Mourning is my grief integration course. And then Cultivating Kema encompasses that, but I also do personal one-on-one coaching and through Cultivating with Kema, aka Unplugged. If any of that sounds like a lot, just stay with me. All you need to know is that for the next 30 days, I sit with people around endings and transitions. That's it. That's the whole job. And whether that is the end of a relationship, the end of an identity, the end of a job, or the end of a life, I help people reckon with the fear that comes along with change and changing narratives, changing partners, changing locations, or leaving this realm. So you may be asking, what does a death doula do? So a death doula is non-medical support before, during, and after dying. So presence, planning, education, and family support. It's different from hospice. Hospice is medical support, and they handle the clinical piece when someone is dying. And a doula works alongside them. We are like the human piece. So a death doula, even if they are a nurse, if they are working in the death doula capacity, should not be administering medicine or doing anything medical. They are strictly there for presence, education, and support. It's also different from clergy. So that's a role that can hold spiritual space. Doulas can hold spiritual space if the family specifically requests it. And I've had that happen before. But doula is not medical, not spiritual, unless asked, and we're not therapists either. So doulas are companioning grief, not treating it. I don't even know if most doulas think that grief is something that needs to be treated. It's just something that needs to be. We need to be educated on what healthy grief looks like, and then, seek help when we've gone outside of the parameters of what healthy grieving looks like. I myself have experienced unhealthy maladaptive grief. So as a doula, I can recognize it when I see it. And I also know that I'm not above it. So what a death doula actually does in practice is help you. Well, some doulas can help you write advance directives so the medical team knows what you want and has a document to follow if you lose consciousness or the ability to communicate. We sit vigil, meaning we're present in what is called the 11th hour, the last hours or the last days or hours of your life. And so this is really important if someone doesn't have family, doesn't have friends, or doesn't have anyone that has the strength to sit with them. And I believe everyone should have someone with them at the end, if possible. Sometimes it's not possible. We coach the family through what a dying body is doing and why. And this is really, really important. And we can explore that later because we got 30 days. Hey, Lovejoy Studios, welcome. And so we coach the family on what's normal and what's not normal so that they know what to expect. We hold space for legacy work, right? So there are some doulas that are just legacy death doulas. And what they do is they help you determine what you want your legacy to be and then help you do that. And that could look a myriad of ways. That could be writing letters, writing stories, writing a book, recording yourself, recording a video, trinkets, things that you want to leave to certain people. Legacy work of all of it, it's up there. I have two that are tied at the top, and legacy work is one of them. Hi, Mrs. Amber Ray. And so legacy work could look like a sculpture, or I've had people knit a bunch of things while they still had the constitution to do so, and then distribute them either at their living wake or upon their death. It could look like paintings, drawings. Legacy could be starting a nonprofit and leaving your estate to give out a scholarship. Some people leave their bodies to science, and believe it or not, that is legacy work as well. All right. So it's the things that people want to leave behind. That's not money or property. It's the sentimental things. And then there is there are doulas that support the family after death into the first weeks of grief. So and that could look two different ways. That could be post-mortem work, which I do. And it's becoming more and more popular for people to pass at home. And when you pass at home in the United States, you are allowed to have a body in your home for 48 hours, 24 hours, 24 hours. You have to put the body on ice. And this may vary by state, so check with your states. But it gives the family time to do any ceremony and cleanse and talk and just really, really grieve before they go with whatever comes after that. There are a myriad of options available depending on where you are in the world. And we can look at that over the next 30 days as well. And then that's post-mortem as it pertains to the person that passed in their body. There's also grief care after death. And so that looks like really supporting the bereaved with logistical items, calling people that need to be called, and making arrangements for the family. And also helping them process in a healthy way, helping them to continue to talk about their loved one and making plans and just really speaking to whatever it is they're feeling in the moment. And as I said before, this can last through like a week or two post-mortem. So why this series? So I'm going live every day for 30 days. I'm going to go live. I'm going to alternate between Instagram and TikTok. So today's Instagram, tomorrow will be TikTok. I'll make a post or something letting you know where I'm going to be. Maybe it'll be this time of day every week. Maybe it won't, but I will try to get into a rhythm. Okay. So I want, I'll open up and then I'll take questions for you. This is a Ask a Death Doula in slow cooked form. So after 30 days, this will become a twice weekly room permanently. Okay. The 30 days is the pilot, and to see what you guys are into, see what questions you have, what mysteries that you think about death, what fears you have, because a lot of the taboo nature of death and talks about death and grief come from people's fear. And I want to help you chip away at that conditioning and that colonization of such a sacred moment that is a shared experience with each and every other person on the planet. So it looks like we already got some questions here, y'all. I'm going to get to them really quick. The only other thing that I wanted to tell you is the reason that I'm doing this is this work needs a place where people can ask the questions that they have, that they're scared to ask the people in their lives, and there aren't very many rooms like this. And so I want to build one, and I want to build one for our community. So if you have questions, you can drop it now, just like Lovejoy Studios has done, and I'm going to get to that in a second. You can DM it to me. You can comment on any of my reels or posts and just say, hey, I had this question, and then I will categorize them and start answering them in these lives. Nothing is too basic. Nothing is too dark. Okay. It doesn't have to be about death either. It can be about grief. It could be about a person who's aging. It could be about a fear that you have or a loss that no one else in your life takes seriously. I can guarantee you I will take all of your losses seriously because grief does not always have to be bereavement grief. Okay. And if you don't have a question yet, stay. The whole point is that hearing someone else ask their questions may open up something for you. Okay, so let's get into the questions. The first question is, would love to hear more about how friends and family members can support their loved ones navigating the grief connected to death. So, of course, everyone grieves differently, and people are going to need different things. Sometimes people aren't going to know what they need, and sometimes people know exactly what they need. So I think a great start would be asking someone, what do you need? How can I support you? In my friend group, my best friend, she will often say, how can I support you? Through whatever it is. And it's always such a good feeling instead of her assuming that she knows. Assuming that she knows what I would want or what I need. She just asks. And that's probably the best thing you can do for someone that is experiencing bereavement grief. And then just validate their feelings and their experiences. Death brings up things that people don't always anticipate. And as much as you can, be a yes for the person that is grieving, and just help them move as normal as possible. Don't say things like, oh, well, they're in a better place now, or for people who are very religious, they may say it's all part of God's plan and things like that. Those things, while well-intentioned, are not helpful at all. And so it's better to ask the person what they need and then move from there. Sometimes what they need is going to be totally, they may say, I just want to sit here together and not say anything. And that's probably the best thing that you can do for that person. And some people will say, hey, I just need a little bit of space, but I'll reach out when I'm better. Give them their space and then circle back if they don't reach out. Because it's really easy for people to go into isolation when dealing with bereavement grief. Speaking from experience, not from observation. Okay, so another question that I get sometimes is what's the difference between the death doula and hospice? And I kind of touched on that before, but just to go a little bit more in depth, hospice is medical care, medical support. So think doctors, nurses, medication management, and equipment. And a doula is non-medical human support. So we handle the pieces that hospice does not have the capacity for. So sitting with the family, walking them through what they're seeing, normalizing the labor of death. You're welcome, Lovejoy Studios. And helping the dying person do the emotional and practical work of ending well. In my opinion, so for me, a good death would be one where I have explored all emotional, like loose ends. Everyone knows how I feel. I've covered my legacy. Those that I love know that I love them. And I would want those closest to me around me and with me to hold my hand, to read to me, sing to me if they have a nice voice. And really, make sure that I've forgiven everyone that I need to forgive, including myself. You would be surprised how many people struggle to let go because they're holding on to something. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with anybody else. It's with themselves. There's something that they regret and they need to forgive themselves and let go. And so a lot of my intake in early conversations with the patient that I'm going to be with over the span of months would include asking these kinds of questions and not answering it for them, but allowing them to come to it and really, really going into it. I have had amazing experiences watching people grapple with sorting through their life because they know they're going to die. And the beginning of our relationship is filled with fear and anger and sometimes regret. But by the end, there is peace and acceptance, and even, dare I say, a little bit of excitement for what is coming next for them. So a good hospice team and a good doula together is like the gold standard. If possible, where you are. So how much does a death doula cost, and does insurance cover it? So cost varies. It depends on where you are, what services you're getting. Like, is it, legacy work? Is it, emotional work? Is it 11th hour? Like, what all goes into it? Am I educating your family on top of working with you? Some doulas charge by the hour, and some by package, and some on a sliding scale. The ranges are wide. Full engagement can run from a few hundred to several $1,000s, depending how long and how involved. Currently, in most places, insurance does not cover death doula work. That's a system problem that there are people within the field working on changing this and getting death doula coverage or death doula care to be covered by insurance. Because honestly, it's almost like I feel like death care is a right, and not medical death care, but death care, caring for the whole person. If hospice is medical care, medical death care, then I would say death doula work is like holistic death care. Many doulas, myself included, offer sliding scale or reduced fee spots. I never ever want to decline services to someone because they can't afford it. So I charge the people that can pay full price, so that I can sit with the people who can't when I can. And so another really popular question, and I'll end with this one, is this a religious thing? Is death work a religious thing? And no, most doulas meet people where they are. Now, I have seen a surgence of like Christian doulas and things like that, but me personally as a doula, I will honor whatever rites and ceremonies that you desire. Okay, so if you are a Christian, then I am going to honor whatever it is. I will pray for you in Jesus' name. I will make sure that you have all of the rights that you want as a Christian person. But that it doesn't change. I'm very familiar with Christianity. So it's very easy for me to do. But for the faiths and spiritual practices that I'm not familiar with, I do my research. It's part of my job to make sure that you get to die the death that you want with dignity and with full ceremonial rights of the faith and cultural practices that you participate in this life. Hey, Danny. Hey, Sean. Thank you guys for joining. Um, and so if a family wants prayer, we hold prayer. If they want silence, we hold silence. If they want music, we hold music. It's the human thing to do. It's not religious. And my work is about my client. It does not matter what I think, what I want, or what I believe, because that is for me. And what someone else wants for them is for them. And that's very, very easy for me. It's not anything super hard. Okay, I said that was going to be my last one, but I'm going to do one more. All right, another question I get is, how did I get into this work? So I'll tell you the short version today, and then on tomorrow's live, I'll tell you the full version. So the short version is, I lost my baby sister Erin in 2020, and what I saw around her death, what our family had to figure out in real time, it showed me a gap, especially within the Black community. And I trained to become part of filling that gap. And that's really the oversimplification of why I became a death doula and why I do this work. And now that I'm in it, I am 100% positive that this is the path that I'm supposed to take, because it's not easy work. It's a heart-centered role that used to be community-based long, long time ago. We can talk about that too, how in Black communities, they had to create their own death care because they were not allowed to use the more corporate funeral homes and things like that. And so in creating our own death care before we caught up to what was being offered in other communities it looked very much like what I do as a death doula now, but that kind of faded away with the rise of capitalism. Death care went out of the hands of the families in the communities and into the hands of corporations. And part of my mission as a death doula is to kind of reverse that a little bit, because we need to take back our death care, our death practices, because we are one of the only developed nations that lacks real ceremony around death and grief. But we also have some of the highest cases of depression and maladaptive grief. And I think this is because we lack ritual and ceremony. Okay, so we got another question. Is it hard to find the positive side in death? Mm, for me, no. I think it's this is a great question. I think death means that you have lived. Yes, sometimes there is what we perceive to be premature death, which is harder to find the upside. Um, but if you look at death as the inverse of birth, um, you can't have one without the other. You can't have birth without death, and you certainly can't have a death without there first having been a birth. And birth can be traumatic for both the woman giving birth and the baby coming into the world. It can be. It's not a lot of the time, but we give a lot of ceremony and celebration to birth, and in our culture, in Western US culture, there is not much. There is like kind of a celebration, but not in the way that we celebrate death. And what has helped me find the bright side of that is for both my clients and myself, I see a shift in my client when I talk to them about them becoming an ancestor. And that kind of shifts it for them. It turns into this huge ending that they're unsure about to this ending that they're kind of anticipating because they get to do this other thing, especially for people who in their own life consulted their ancestors and remembered their ancestors, and now they get to become an ancestor. And so I really think it depends on the circumstance of the death and what's happening. But for me, it is not always hard to find the bright side. Um, and I'm trying to help others realize that this is a sacred rite of passage that we get to do instead of something that happens to us. So the next question is, how do you prepare for death in your prime, especially if you have kids? I think a really good, what helps me in my mind with the kids, because it's really hard, especially, we think we're invincible when we're young. But having plans for the inevitable, for the unthinkable, you leaving not as an old person in bed surrounded by your loved ones, but you leaving in an accident or from an illness or something, and you have children. The best thing that you can do is make sure that your affairs are in order. Like, do you have a trust? Are your children going to be taken care of? Who's going to take care of your children if you and your spouse are together? And so I think that young people should consult a death doula if they are unsure about how to plan in case they have small children. A death doula or a lawyer, either one. But a lawyer is going to help with that logistical, practical side, the assets, the shelter, the money, and things like that. A doula is going to help you with, if your children are young, when they're older, what is it that you want them to know from you? What lessons will they be robbed of because of your untimely demise? And what can you leave them so that they still get them? Like I guess you know what? I might have always been destined for this because when my daughter was born, I created an email address for her and I would write poetry and I would send her emails when she did something funny or cute. I sent pictures. And then my thing was, when she's old enough, I'm going to give her the password so she can go and look at all of these memories, things that I even had forgotten by the time I gave it to her. And I was so grateful for this because I'd gotten cancer and was stripped of a lot of memories. And so her email ended up being as much of a tool for me as it is for her. Um, and I just thought about this just now. I need to do the same thing for my son. Though my son has been born in a time where we record everything. So I have infinitely more videos and photos of him and moments with him than I did with my daughter. So the email was a thing. But I think just planning for your legacy and existing in such a way that you leave a meaningful impact on your children is a great way. Like, if you are facing your death positively, then you're probably living a very full life. Because a lot of times we're living like we're not going to die. And that's where people get messed up. Danny said, I love that you said death means you have lived. And I guess there's a lot of positive in that. Also love the feeling of becoming an ancestor. More like a transition than an end. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You get to transition into an ancestor and be on someone's ancestral team. And it's like the most important thing you can do outside of this life. Like when you get to be when you get to what's next, like, what do I get to do? Now I get to be to my descendants what my ancestors were to me. Yeah, I love that. So, this has been really good, guys. Thank you so much for the questions. Really, really, really good questions. Um, Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you the deeper story of how I got here, my sister Erin, on what her death showed me, and how it became this work that I do, which is grief based. Um, and then before you go, think of a question that anything you've been afraid to ask about death or grief, and I'll be pulling from that stack every day. So you can put it here or DM me or send it on one of the other reels or posts, and I will check that out. Yes, Danny, I will be a photo on someone's altar one day, which is, it's amazing. Like, I talk about it all the time. And I think back to Sean's question, another thing you can do to prepare your children is teach them how to sit with the ancestors too. Both of my children use my ancestral altar, and it is just a part of our daily lives. So I know that I will become an ancestor and be on someone's altar. And so it starts with educating the next generation before there's any talk of actual death of us. Just these are the ones that have already gone, and this is how we can still stay in contact with them and stay connected with them. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Until the end. Ciao.